is right here in the front row. I don't know if you remember me. My name is Guilain. I'm your master of ceremony this week, and I will see you tomorrow as well for the next and the final day. And I need to have very close attention because right now I will ask you to make something difficult. Okay? This is going to be very difficult, very hard. It will involve body motion, intellectual skills, teamwork. It's going to be very complicated, okay? It will going to be a picture. We'll take a picture, okay? Hardest thing you have ever done in your life. The picture will come from behind, okay? So first, body motion. I need you to stand up. Wow, thank you very much. Great. Second step, still body motion. We're going to go towards the center of the room so that there is no alley in the middle, okay? So squeeze towards the center. Here and here. You squeeze towards the center. So now, still go on and squeeze towards the center. I know it's difficult. It's teamwork, body motion. Still squeeze toward the center. You will go back to your seats later, okay? Here, at the end, squeeze toward the center. Okay. Still toward the center, so that we make a big mass. Okay, I still see empty spaces. Okay, go, and you'll go back to your seats. The picture will be taken from... Plus vers le milieu encore. Okay, there's a lot of spaces in the end, so maybe still squeeze. Space in the middle. Here. Okay, you have to get closer to each other. You have to feel the teamwork. Okay? Squeeze more and more and more. Okay? En français, messieurs, dames, j'ai besoin de votre aide. Hein. Il va falloir vous rapprocher les uns des autres. Just like obey yesterday. You have to be as close as possible, okay? Closer. Kind of okay? Still closer. Just like you're on the dance floor. Just like you're about to shop the person next to you, okay? Tiffany, you tell me when it looks like enough okay? Okay. Okay, so now, teamwork and body motion. We're going to raise our eyes towards the camera. Okay, raise the hands. Okay, we raise the hands towards the camera. Okay, everyone, the hands. Nice. Clapping, okay, great. Wow, wonderful. I love you. Beautiful. Okay, and now lower the hands. Lower the hands and big smile. You can put your hands down. Put your hands down and big smile. Okay? Big smile to the camera. Make love to the camera like we say. Okay? Wow. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Okay, is it okay for the camera? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Go back to your seats. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Enjoy the conference and enjoy the day.
So please have a seat. We're going to start the conference. S'il vous plaît. C'est bon, vous êtes prêts? Let's start. Encore quelques-uns à s'installer. Okay, let's start. Shh, please. Shh. Thank you very much. So this afternoon, we're going to have the last conference of the week. Tomorrow will be a bit different because you're going to present yourself in the morning, as you know, and then on the afternoon, we're going to have the final closing in order to get the finalists' presentation first, and then just a talks, actually, but quick talk about the street artist as well as the alumni of ESSEC. This afternoon, we have a great opportunity, and thank you so much for being with us, LeView Babbitt. LeView is an innovator, strategist with experience in designing cutting-edge tech and systems for impact. He is seen as a leading thought leader for the building a positive future, which is absolutely coherent with our topic, shaping desirable futures. With his work, LeView Babbitt is being published in the world media, BBC, Guardian, New York Times, and speaking at events and organizations, including the famous Singularity University, Oxford Uni, Slush, Tomorrowland, and more. This conference will be more disruptive. That's what we have seen so far. Please welcome with me LeView Babbitt.
Hello. Can everybody hear me? Is there any option to see the crowd a bit, just a bit, so they're, oh, so much better, people. Hello. I couldn't be more excited being here. I spoke all over the world in so many places, so many conferences, including Singular University, which I have a funny story to tell you about. But actually being here in a university with young people, for me, that's a huge privilege. So thank you for having me here, and thank you for coming and listening to my story and to what I have to say. And why did I come? I thought about it a lot. I thought about it a lot before I came here. What kind of talk is this going to be? Am I going to speak about, you probably saw that I'm the CEO of a company called CyborgNest. Am I going to speak about tech? Am I going to speak about this, about that? But then I thought, wait, when someone comes and gives a talk, why do they do that, right? And the reason why I'm here is to try to give, right, and try to help. And then I try to put myself into your young, brilliant minds. And I try to think, where are they in life and what do they care about, right? So, and I try to remember, I'm today 43 years old, but still, oh, where are the people? The lights? No? Oh. And I'm today 43 years old, but still I can remember a bit from when I was your age, around 20 years old. And I remember that there was one thing that really bothered me, which is, what am I going to be? After I finish all my schools and after I finish everything that everybody wants to teach me, what am I going to be? Who is bothered by that question today out of this crowd? Raise your hands. I assume that will be the case, okay? So I want to share with you how my life unfolded, because you will see that there are basically two types of people that I managed to recognize in life. There are the people like this amazing young gentleman here that is a mountain climber, that I asked him, when did you start? And he said, since I was a child. So he had that feeling in his tummy that this is what he needs to do, and he went for it all his way. I also work with my feeling in my tummy, and I make decisions from here, but it wasn't a linear career. I didn't start in one place, in one small mountain, and then I got to the Everest. I do journeys, and then journeys take me to other journeys. But how did all started? It started when I was a child. I was born in Romania in 1980, and I don't know how much you guys know about Romania in the 80s, but Romania in the 80s was a closed country, exactly as is, I don't know, North Korea today, right? There was no in, there was no out, we knew absolutely nothing. We had 4 hours of TV per day about a dictator, how amazing he is and how he's going to make us be the best people in the world, and how equality is the best thing in the world, and equality, of course, didn't exist on the street, and there was nothing about that. So basically, it looked like it's all doomed. And I was forced to wear this uniform, and what's going to happen with my life? I mean, I'm basically a machine that is part of something that I don't have control on. So I understood as a young child that it's just a machine, so I'm just part of something. But then the revolution happened. I was 10 years old, and people went to the streets, and that huge mountain that was called the communist regime or the dictatorship collapsed, and it broke down. And it didn't happen because someone did it. It didn't happen because reality did it. It didn't happen because they gave up. It happened because people did that. And people made the decision that today I wake up and I'm going to be a part of that. And I'm going to be part of something that is a revolution. I'm going to take control on my own life. That had a huge impact on my life. Of course, it had a huge impact on the way that, you know, I don't live in Romania for 30 years now almost, but it of course had an impact on economy and you know, the basic things of life. But the biggest impact was the fact that we had control, and we can change. And every one of you young people sitting here can be that next person and will be that next person that will do something extraordinary for this world. Because the world that we live in, it's a special moment in time. It really is. I mean, it is always a special moment. In 1523 or in the 1230, it was a special moment as well. But things did not move as fast as they do today. And more than that, it is the first time in history that we actually have impact on everything that is happening on the planet. In the 15th century or the 12th century or the 13th century, if masses of people died, was because of a natural disaster, for example, right, or a war. But we didn't have the ability to destroy the whole planet. We couldn't do that. Today we can, and not only that we can, but we actually do it. So today we deal for the first time with existential problems not caused by someone. It's not a meteor that comes, but for example, global warming is something that, yes, maybe it's happening naturally as well, but we definitely have a part in it. We are definitely ones that are shaping our future. And another thing that I realized in life is the most important question out of all, which is, what don't we see? I had a teacher when I was about 12 years old, 13 years old, an art teacher. And she told me, Liv, you don't just look at stuff, observe. Try to look at everything and to try to really understand what's happening around you and how things are built. And then you will see stuff that you never saw, because we walk on the street, but we don't see that person, we don't see that flower, we don't see that building, we don't see that problem, and we also don't see an opportunity. And an opportunity can be someone that will be our best friend, or an opportunity can be a business opportunity, or an opportunity can be anything, but we need to open our eyes and look and see those things. And not only that, but then when we understand the problem, another part of the world that we live in is to ask ourselves, what do we do with it? Do we invent something or do we innovate something? And what is the difference between them? So I'll tell you what is the difference that I see. I'll tell you a story, an anecdote. So imagine this village living on a river somewhere, and they depend on that river for water, for washing their clothes, for many things that they need that water. They go to sleep one day, they wake up in the morning, and that huge river that was there a night before now is a tiny little stream. And they go, holy shit, sorry for my language. What are we going to do now? So then there are two people that come and say, we both have a solution. One of them comes and say, I'm going to build now a strong machine that's going to have in the inside of it a huge pump. That pump is going to generate enough pressure and enough stream, and in very short time, you will have the same amount of stream or same strength that you had before. The second person says, I have a simpler idea. Can I go up the river and see where is the tree that fell and stops the water? Right? And the first person is Elon Musk, the second person is myself. Because many times in the world today we invent and we are in this mad place of, because we have the ability, and today we also have the tools, and to invent more and more and to create more and more. But think about it. That first solution of creating a pump sounds like a great idea, right? Why not doing it? But if you think of the long term, that thing needs to be run by something, so here is power. That thing needs to be maintained, right? That thing needs to be fixed, needs replacement parts, needs so many things. And sometimes the solution is just to remove the tree from the water. Now, as we know, it all started from the apple, and we are all very passionate about stuff. And today, we know how to create so many apples, right? Some of you are texting on them all the time. And do we really need those all the time? Do we need every year to create all these things? Where is that getting us? And that is happening in a world where we see that does damage. So who can stop that? Going back to the revolution, it's only us that can make that change. Because the innovation today is unsustainable. We are like a family that has a bunch of apples, and instead of eating every apple till the end, we take a bite, throw to the garbage, take a bite, throw to the garbage. I changed my phone, I changed my this, I changed my that, I changed my that. Is there any reason why we do that? No. Just because. In a sustainable future, we will actually eat the apple because it's there and we actually grew it and we put money into it. Let's do a 20 seconds thinking exercise. If I see that many of you already have your phones out, those that don't, please do take them out. Open a list. And you have a circle in front of you. Now let's turn that circle into 10 different things, okay? 10 different things. It can be, I'll give you an example, it can be the sun, or it can be an apple, or it can be a tomato, okay? 20 seconds, 10 things out of a circle, go. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alrighty. Who managed to get 10 things out of that circle? Very well done. That you can see that it's young people here, because usually when I give the same exercise to older generations, it's not working that well. But I see few hands here, because that thing can be turned into hundreds and millions of things. We just need to think about it and to be curious, what can we do with what we already have? And some answers are under our nose. My first crazy journey, because when many times people ask me, so how did you get into the whole cyborg stuff? And then I tell them, listen, that's actually my first normal job. You don't want to know what I did before. And this is what I did before. So before I started CyborgNest, I was the COO of what is today the edgiest human rights organization existing on the planet, called Videre Scredere. For many years, we were completely undercover. Nobody knew about our existence. And the idea of Videre Scredere is to use cameras, secret cameras that you can buy on Amazon. And with them, my role was to train, equip, and run undercover networks of people that are documenting human rights violations in places where no one else has access to any information. Now I know that we live in a world where we have Twitter and we have Instagram, and we know Trump, I'm in a toilet, this I'm there, and this I'm doing that, and we think that we know everything, but we don't. There are many places, not only in North Korea, but also in countries that are seen as normal countries, whatever, Western, open, democracies, whatever, that there are pockets of people, there are organizations, mafias, trafficking, governments, that we have no clue what's happening there. Not only that we have no clue, sometimes we don't even know that those pockets or places even exist, because they are deep inside there. So what we do, we found those pockets, we get in touch with people, and then we ask them, how can we help them? And we didn't go and invent any sophisticated machine. We didn't build satellites. We didn't spend millions and billions on R&D for something. Or, for example, in some places where we worked and solved problems that governments tried before, where they spent billions on bringing armies to there, tanks, planes, and whatever. No. We bought cameras from Amazon for £5 each. We changed their shape a bit for the type of society or place where they were, and we built a certain methodology that we worked with, and we managed to expose and change realities in places where people thought that they would never be seen for what they do to others. But the moment they were exposed, and you've seen footage that we exposed from many places around the world, you never knew it's us, because it never comes out as Videre, it always comes as obtained by amateur, whatever, because the media is protecting everybody in the chain. At some stage, we had to expose the organization to the world, because of fundraising reasons, and it was exposed in what was back then the biggest article that Wired UK published. But that was the first example of how I took that philosophy of doing simple things that can create big change and putting it into a game, into making actually things happening, and not just speaking about it, and then when it comes to reality, go and build another mammoth that the world will have to deal with. I cannot explain or give you examples of most of the work that we did, because I need to protect the people and the places on the ground. I can give you one example and to show you. That is not a political thing. It has to do with women and with female genital mutilation, which I'm sure that unfortunately many of you have heard about, and it's a horrible thing to happen. Now we said, okay, what hasn't been done about it? People spoke about it, wrote about it, books, did documentary movies, and then I was like, okay, but those that did documentary movies, what did they do with the documentary movies? And usually you go and look and you see that, and I'm not saying that in any bad way, because everyone who did that did it from a very good intention, but it usually ends up in a fundraising event in London, in Paris, in New York, in whatever, and people go, white people, male people, sit in the room with a glass of wine and say, oh, poor girls, so bad, and they mean it. I'm not saying that, I'm not laughing about them. But what's the change that's happening? After we saw that, what did happen? So someone went, spent money, did the movie, came back with it, edited it, did an event, brought people, got the wine, everybody's crying, but the girls, did anything change for the girls? No. So we said, okay, so how can we do it differently? And then at that stage, we decided to do a documentary as well, but instead of showing it to you, we showed it to the same community as a mirror as to how you look, not how they look. You watch a movie about yourself and tell me if you like it. And if you like what you do, continue doing it. Guess what was the answer?
Nani? Muta. Ini atoka gela anya ala ale. Kemuta pada tete andai. Iya. Nama yetel. Yetel. Kedong ingor. Amo tenyapaka.
Afwan natupa.
Nasema.
National.
Ay muta ya imata. Koma, mutini ya uja toni. Anasema. Huyu anauliza, "Wote muta lo?" Anataka lena muta solo. Maglai ni ya.
Sasa wala wasichana wadogo kama hao walipata kufanya.
Kuna marafiki zangu anasema lakini kwa nini?
Alikonjeka mpaka alipelekwa mpaka hospitali na akafurutwa na chuma mtoto anakufa. Ya pili ni shida, alipasuliwa hapa na mafupa ikaenda hivi, mtoto akatoka hapo.
Hayo ni roho mwalo. Ata terwa nyenyenyu. Anta kalumar ni mo ko ngenya.
Sini sakiye tumunung takamuta la ina ko pai yonyi ni toruno.
Ngale choni ya juana to ni ka terza ngale joti ne ke ngabi pa swali mamuta nye jimu.
Ala kasi noni jo.
Akafanya hiyo kazi sasa kabisa mpaka sasa.
Asete
Leo sitakubali.
Hata Mungu nyani.
It is very hard to see yourself doing something to someone. It is very hard looking that you are hurting your own children. It's much harder than seeing other children being hurt. So they stopped. I survived that journey, and then I asked myself, what's going to be next? It was obvious for me that I'm going to continue using technology for revolutions. And then one day, I have a friend that has a friend, that his name is Neil Harbison. And he said that he's going to have lunch with him. And I Googled who Neil Harbison is, and I saw that he has an antenna on his head. So I called my friend. I said, dude, you have a friend with an antenna on his head? I'm coming to lunch. So I invited myself to that lunch, and I sat there. So I'll give you the background of Neil Harbison. He's a mind-blowing artist, amazing person. And he was born seeing black and white. And he has today this antenna that is connected to his skull, that at the edge of it, it has a camera that basically translates the colors that he's not seeing into different types of vibrations that he can feel in his skull, and then he understands which colors are in front of him. Now imagine yourself, you're sitting for lunch in a restaurant with a dude that has an antenna on his head, right? So all the lunch, myself and everybody in the restaurant staring at it. Because what would you do? It's normal, right? It's not something that you see every day. Okay, so we had a nice lunch. He's a very smart guy, very nice, very interesting. And then I went home. But it didn't end up there because there was a coin, a very important coin that dropped. And that coin said that everything that we ever created, thought or felt, started from a sensory input. Everything that you have in your brain, everything, except information that comes from your internal organs, i.e. your liver, your stomach, or your heart, or stuff like that, everything came through one of your senses. So what will happen if we will have more senses? More than that, every industry and every creation is based on one or more senses that we have. There is this very interesting neuroscientist called David Eagleman that I always quote, and he says, he has a nice anecdote. He says, imagine yourself a world, 7-8 billion people, just as we are, living a normal life, just as we live, just without ears. Could be, no big deal. So you sit at home, and instead of someone ringing the bell so you know your Amazon delivery came, instead of the bell you will have the lights flashing. Not a problem. And then there is this guy or lady who wake up in the morning and they have ears and they can hear, and they come to everybody and says, world, you can't believe it, I can hear. And everybody looks at them and says, so fucking what? We don't need that. Because that's how our brain is built, and this is how we are taught. We are taught in schools that we have organs, all the liver, heart, and stuff, and then we have the brain, right? But your brain, without your senses, is like having the most sophisticated computer on the planet and not connecting it to electricity or to the internet. Then why do you have it? How are you going to feed it with information? If I take all your senses now, one by one from you, take your sight, take your hearing, take your taste, take your touch, take everything, you are left with all the memories and thoughts that you had before this moment. There will be zero coming through. Nothing. So now imagine the opposite. That not only that I give you all back, but I add more. And it's happening in medicine as well. Up until now, we are used to go to the doctor and say, "Doctor, I don't feel well, I have a problem." And then the guy goes and says, "Yes, you have a heart problem. You should be here, but you are now here. I'll bring you back to where you are." I say, "No, why would you bring me back just here? Give me a heart of a lion. Why stopping here? If I have 5 senses, imagine we had more, because we know as a fact that in the room where we are now, there are many more colors, sounds, the magnetic field of the planet, gases, endless things that are here that we are blind to, let's call it. We have no idea that they are here in the room sharing the space with us. So yes, we can say we don't need that, but I'll give you an example. Without eyes, we would have never ever thought about flying or planes, from the simple reason that we would have never known that there is sky or that there are birds. Now all that is great, but our biological evolution is wonderful. And nature is amazing, but it is also slow. I mean, slow, right? Millions of years. We cannot wait all that time because a lot of people are spending so much money and time into building machines. When I say, why don't we spend the same amount of time, efforts, and enthusiasm into ourselves? Hello, people, us, right? I'll give you an example. Global warming. Global warming became a huge thing among scientists in the 50s of the last century. Everybody said, yeah, these guys with their papers in the university, graphs and stuff, whatever. When did we actually start caring? When we saw it. When we had the sensory input. We saw shit burning. We see a glacier this year this size, next year this size, we go, holy moly. I've seen it. It's happening. And that brings us to a very simple equation. That is the essence of life and planet. That if we sense something, we understand it. And only if we sense something and then understand it, we can actually respect it. We are not people that make decisions on a logical level, because then we would have listened to the guys in the 50s with their papers and their graphs and we would have done the change, but we didn't. Now we woke up because we sensed it, we understood it, and we bloody respect it, because it should be respected. So I started a company creating new senses for humans. And it was the first company, so you have Neil Harbison, Moon Ribas, Kevin Warwick, and many other people that were pioneers in this field, but they did stuff to themselves. I said, I want everybody to be a part of this. So we created a company to create new senses for humans. So we specialize in sensory innovation through haptics, touch, and beyond. And we do that to enhance people of all kinds with new innovative sensory experiences. And our first product was something called the North Sense. Do you know there are many animals on the planet that can sense the magnetic field of the planet, i.e. the magnetic north, right? Fact. Why they do that, we don't know. I mean, it's easy with birds, for example, or sharks. They need to navigate, okay? But I'll give you two funny ones that we have no clue why they happen, but they surely have a very good reason. The two funny examples are from cows and dogs. Who has a dog here? Alrighty, I love dogs. So doggies, sometimes when they poop, before they poop, they turn around, right? Do you know why they do that? They are looking for the magnetic field of the planet. They poop facing north. Okay? In most of the cases, a dog will poop facing north. Or, if not north, exactly south, being aligned with the magnetic field of the planet. Now it sounds funny because we don't do that and we don't understand that. But for them, there is definitely a very good reason why they do that. We just don't understand it because we can't sense it, so then we can't respect it. Or we can't make a use of it. Or we can't implement it in other things. So we decided that we need to sense the magnetic field of the planet as well. We created this small device that was actually physically connected to our chest using those 2 bars that you see here. And people said, but Liviu, what's the point, dude? You know, we are in like beyond the 2000s, you have a compass on your phone. Just use that, man. We don't need all your stuff. But the difference is between a compass and the sense of north is a difference between a tool and a sense. A tool like a compass on my phone. So for example, if I want to use my compass, I need to think about it. I need to send a command to my arm to take it out of the pocket. I need to open the app, I need to look, and then I need to do all these things backwards to reverse it until the phone is in my pocket again. Did any of you put your ears on when you got to this talk? No, they were always there. A sense is not a tool. We don't decide now I'm going to hear for those of us that can hear. For those of us that can see, we don't say, okay, that's interesting enough, that dude, let me look at him. No, if you stare at my direction, you're just going to see me. And the fact that they are always on, that creates a whole understanding of things. So having a north sense that is always on created a very interesting experience, because suddenly I started, myself and other people, we started having memories that have directions in it. Because what is a memory? A memory is like a flash of a camera of sensory inputs. Is what I saw, what I maybe tasted, what I smelled, the weather, and whatever you sense that moment captured, boom, I have a memory. But now I also knew directions. So suddenly when I was facing magnetic north, it would throw me back to the entrance of my son's school, and thinking about him, and people started speaking about a helicopter view where you suddenly see yourself from above and you understand that the way that I face now is the way of my table in my office, and my bed at home is exactly aligned to here. Stuff that you never thought about and you never understood. The problem is that the business world and the thinking world are not always aligned, and you guys here learn business. So you know the whole thing with the problem solution, right? Or the other word called give me your use cases. Okay? Now let's go back before we existed, and some of you maybe believe that we were created by nature, maybe some of you believe that we are created by gods. Doesn't matter. But imagine before we were here, if we didn't have eyes, and then there was one of us that says, I have an idea, can we have eyes? And he goes to God and says, God, please give us eyes. And he goes, 5 use cases, and you get the eyes. Which use cases? I never saw anything. How can I have use cases? Can I go and say, give me eyes, because then we'll see a bird and we'll invent aviation and we'll get to the moon and maybe one day to Mars? No. So you guys, the young generation here, need to close that gap in the business thinking as well. Things need to align with the reality and the speed of innovation and creativity that we have. On a personal level, it was a funny journey, the whole thing with the cyborgs, because a moment before that, I was in the undercover world. I didn't exist, didn't have any phone, didn't have any Facebook, Instagram, nothing. I never existed anywhere. Suddenly, I'm all over the world because I wanted to sense north. Now think about it. The magnitude of this thing is not a small thing. It's as big as going to space, if not bigger. We spend billions and billions and billions on going to space, and we don't really know why, and it's okay because we are exploring. But think about it, there is the same amount of unknown, or maybe even more, in this room. How many billions were spent to find the unknown in this room? 0. Okay? Now I know that there is this whole fear of technology and, oh my God, what's going to happen? Now I can promise you, I have a 13-year-old kid, and I do not wish him to wake up in the morning as a robot. I love him exactly as he is, as a human being. Nobody intends to turn no one into robots or into machines. That's not the idea. If we need to be afraid of anything, it's about how humans are going to use the technology. It's not the technology itself. It didn't do anything. It's the people that did with it. So it's us that need to educate ourselves and to make sure that we are going into the right direction. Today we do what's called B2B, and we help different companies do different things. And I want to ask now, okay, how can we improve our life experience just with touch? And we did, we worked on another product that eventually did not succeed, and we had to shelf it. But before we shelved it, and we are still in the background working with the blind community, the whole thing with the orientation, and I want to show you an example.
As a New Yorker and a musician, I travel all the time. And I live in New York because there's a grid here in Manhattan. And so it makes it really easy for me to navigate. But outside of the grid, when I'm touring and stuff, it's actually really hard to orient myself as a blind woman. And, you know, the phone is great even when it has the gyroscope, but sometimes it's clunky, sometimes it doesn't even work. And as a blind person, independence is really, really important for us. So being able to orient myself independently to north or to south or to wherever I am trying to go, any extra added value of independence is really, really valuable to us as blind folks. And so that's one of the really strong benefits I got. And it also allowed me to really connect really with the globe and the orient of my whole self as I connect with the world. So there you go. Really, really excited to be a part of this, and you know, hit me up and let me keep cyborging for you, because it's really cool to be a part of this movement. And all right, Lachi out.
So this is Lachi, and for the blind community and in general for the device that at this stage we had to shelve, but hopefully we'll continue working on it at a later stage. Not only that you could feel the direction of the magnetic field, but you could feel the direction of people. So for example, if me and any of you in the crowd, we had the device and we are connected one with each other, I could turn around and feel exactly in which direction you are. It doesn't matter if you're 5 meters from your 5,000 or 50,000 meters from me, I will feel that you are there. And not only that, but I will feel your heartbeat in live as well. Now suddenly, think about the idea of feeling someone's heartbeat is something that is very close, because even if I speak to the nice gentleman in front of me, I don't feel his heartbeat. I actually need to go and touch, which usually we don't do. But suddenly I can feel someone's heartbeat. So for a lot of communities, being that the elderly community, the blind community, different things, different communities on the spectrum, a lot of communities could highly benefit from any layer, extra layer of connectivity and understanding of their environment, because that adds to them confidence, adds to them understanding, and adds to their life experience. And all that happens through a vibration. I didn't invent any huge industry. There were no billions spent into it. It's the circle from the beginning, you remember? Simple. I'll skip this one. I just want to show you, let's see this one.
Hello, I am Dr. Kirk Adams, founder of Innovative Impact, talking to you from my home in Seattle, Washington. Most recently, I was honored to serve as president and CEO of the American Foundation for the Blind. I became totally blind at age 5 due to bilateral retinal detachments. And as an adult, I have dedicated my life to accelerating inclusion of blind people in every aspect of society. And society places people with impairments, such as myself, into paradigms or mental models. And the most common is a medical model. Unfortunately, still with us, disabled people are considered to be broken if they're unable to be fixed by the medical community. We're considered less than whole, permanently damaged, and inherently less than a person without an impairment. But an impairment does not create disability. As an example, I'm a Braille reader. If I'm in a meeting and you hand me a Braille agenda, my visual impairment does not cause a disabling situation. If you hand me a piece of paper with print on it, then my visual impairment places me in a disabling situation. So we like to think of the structural model, which is just a lack of fit between a person's physical or mental impairment and the environment that has been structured by the abled majority. And our opportunity is to create a better fit between people with impairments and the physical and digital built environments. For people who are blind, such as myself, most technology advancements to create better fit have been auditory. However, we are beyond a saturation point when you have 2, 3, 4 devices and applications giving you auditory input. It becomes counterproductive, and it negatively impacts the fit between the blind person and the environment. Haptics, the sense of feel, the viscerally most impactful of our senses, offers us incredible opportunities to create better fits between people with physical and mental impairments and the environment. I'm excited.
Sorry, I'm stopping here just because of time. But yes, the idea was, again, the solutions are here and they are simple. So let's try to think about the world instead of only thinking about how we solve problems, but also how we mitigate differences between different communities, different ways of thinking, different cultures. And in very simple ways, a lot of the answers for a lot of big problems will be there. Now, I call this era the Leonardo da Vinci era, and why is that? Not because I'm a Leonardo da Vinci, but we are all Leonardo da Vinci's. This whole notion of a brain surgeon that can't make an omelette, that does not exist anymore, because he cannot be a brain surgeon if he can't make an omelette. Simply because 20 years ago, to be a brain surgeon, your most important skill, except medicine, was a non-shaky hand. Who cares today if your hands are shaking or not, because you ain't gonna touch that scalpel anyway, it's a robot doing it. And what you need to have is the creativity and the thinking of what you actually do with that robot that you already have. And that is the important part. And if you can't make a meal, and you can't draw a drawing, and you can't play an instrument, or you can't do whatever other things, and the only thing you know is medicine, you're doomed. So same with you guys, and this is why I started from the beginning, and your thought about how am I going to be and what am I going to be. Open your eyes. Learn as much as you can about everything. because everything is going to connect at some stage and help you. Because we're going to create, if we do that, we're going to create a sustainable future with much better impact. And I want to end with values, because at the end of the day, you are young people, and I have a son as well. And actually, just last night, I told him, listen, doesn't matter nothing. The guy is a genius musician. But I told him, doesn't matter how good you're in music, doesn't matter how good you're in math, doesn't matter how good you're in anything. The only thing that matters in life, and if the only thing that you're going to remember from this talk is that whole thing about values, then I won, and you won. We need to, if you want to make the change, you need to be the change. You need to be those people that stand up there and say, me, I'm going to do that. Don't wait for others to do it and then you join. Because when the revolution in Romania started, yes, there were millions of people at some stage on the streets, but there had to be the first person standing there and saying, enough is enough. And then people joined. And when you're going to do that delivering truth and life. And delivering something that is really good for the people and for everybody. And I'll give you an example from today's world that is not like that, and that is social media. Social media, it's a great thing. It's amazing. It connected the whole planet, but it became a money machine for stuff that it should not be. So it's not a connection thing. It's a UFC fighting ring for people about stuff. People are dying because of it. Don't do that. For what? Think about the others. Everything that you do. Remember the guy that said, if I go into a meeting and you give me an agenda that is a braille agenda, I'm not blind and I don't have a problem. If you bring me to a meeting and you give me a piece of paper with ink on it, I'm blind and I have a problem that you created. Always give. The more you give, the more it will come back to you. It's just a thing. And the most exciting thing that's happening is that both myself and yourselves, we were born in an era where we move from doing to being. Children 100 years ago, they were working in factories. They were not sitting in this nice classroom listening to the dude with his stories. That wouldn't have happened. We are so privileged to be here, to do that. Let's close our eyes for 20 seconds and let any thought run there. We can open the eyes. And I want to say thank you for having me, for listening, and for being the future of everything that's happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liviu. Thank you very much. If the students can join me, the 4 students, they have prepared their question, please.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
According to you, with the adoption of such biohardware by a very significant portion of the population, in a way dividing those who have and those who don't, contribute to the formation of inequalities, both social and economical?
That is actually a very good question that comes up a lot of times. And the answer is simple. Listen, when every new thing is coming out, is very expensive, right? So then it costs a lot of money, and obviously there is that division. Usually, what's happening after is that the curve kind of equals itself. And we can look, for example, at the smartphones. Not everybody has an iPhone that costs 1,000 whatever, or how much they cost today. But there is a whole industry today of smartphones that cost $50, that at the end of the day, they do exactly the same thing that an iPhone does, maybe slightly slower, I don't know, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's a smartphone that everybody can have. So yes, like every other thing, when we start, it costs to develop, and there is a gap. But usually things even out, and I think that actually the more people will have different things, the quality will spread. Because I mean, just the internet, for example, the internet was a very expensive thing as well in the beginning, but now it's not so much. So now people everywhere in the world can not only learn from the internet, but they can dream through the internet.
Hello. Thank you for your presentation. So for today's week, the horizon is 2050. Do you think that by 2050, every human will be augmented, or do you think some people won't want to be augmented?
Okay, so that's another very good question. This whole thing with the cyborgs, so let's, in a second, I'll make you order. It's nothing new, okay? So the way that history worked is that a few 100,000 years ago, or I don't know exactly the number, but there were a few types of human-like apes. One of them is the ones that survived us, and others didn't survive. And the reason why we survived and the others didn't is because we adopted technology back then, okay? So fire, the wheels, a carriage, horses to drag it, all that is technology. If you take technology out of the world today, right, we all die in a week. We cannot go back to feeding 8 billion people from what's randomly growing on trees, or to warm up 8 billion people in the winter just from a bit of wood from the ground, right? So we and technology, we are married. We are already cyborgs. More than that, a big part of your memory already sits here. How many phone numbers do you actually remember by heart? A few, right? But you probably have a few hundreds of them. This is part of your memory. At this stage, it's not connected to you here, but it does the same thing.
Good afternoon, Liviu. Thanks for sharing. My question actually is quite similar with the last one. In one of your featured article, you also mentioned about the augmented technology. So my question is, can you give us very brief inversion of our future where such technology achieved a very mature stage? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question as well. So it's a big question, because I mean, if we close the eyes and we imagine the future, does it look like Tokyo or it looks like Norway, right? And I think we are now in that place where we kind of have to start making that choice a bit. And from my experience, it's not going to be a black and white thing. We ain't going to go from one direction and leave the other, but it's going to be a mix, right? So things are moving very fast. I think we look as, and yes, I started the talk saying that it's the first time in history that we created such big problems that are actually existential problems, and we have that power, right? But from the other hand, guys, it is the best world that we've ever lived in. Okay, I was once giving a talk at a conference, and a few guys before me, there was a guy that tried to explain how the world is in the worst situation ever, and I was like, really, dude? In 1994, there was still apartheid in South Africa. In 1978, people were not allowed to run a marathon in Boston. Do you know how many people were hungry at the beginning of the 2000s? So yes, we still have many problems and we are creating more problems, and that will never stop. But we are definitely in the best place that we've ever been, health-wise, financial-wise, communication-wise. Although there are wars happening as we speak in the world, it's still also the most peaceful world that we ever lived in. So in general, I'm very optimistic about the whole thing, especially having, you know, young people like yourself that have the opportunity to being exposed to so many things.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. So my question for you is, can we be optimistic about a possibility where biological consciousness can completely be transferred to a piece of technology in our lifetime?
So do you mean to me dying but not really dying and living in a computer?
Yes, yes.
I'm not, I think those things, so listen, I think we are in a world where, and it's happening with AI as well, right? So we have a very far away imagination, let's call it, and this is the Imagination Week. So this is the place to think about all this stuff. But when it comes to reality, it's very much not there yet. So if we speak about AI, 90% of the companies that says that they are AI companies have a simple if algorithm inside. That's not AI, right? It's just making choices right or left. If this, then do that. If this, do that, okay? So I think we are in the right direction. How exactly it will unfold, it is very hard to say. It's a very interesting ethical question as well. Okay, so I'll give you an example. One of the things that people try to invent different times is keeping memories of dead people, having their voice, or having some stuff about them. It proved that we actually don't want it. That our system is built in a way that when I die, my son's brain will go, I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad, I let go, okay? It actually will not want me in his life. So I'm not saying that it will not happen, but I'm not sure how exactly, where it will land.
Thank you very much. Liviu, Babit, thank you. Thank you to all the students as well for coming on stage, thank you. Next session will be with your tutors, so you have to join them right now in their respective classroom, and we're going to see each other tomorrow afternoon for the final presentation. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.